Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Spaghetti Western Podcast, Season 3, Episode 3, total number 72. I'm sorry. Before we get going, I just want to thank everybody for their thoughts, prayers, wishes, messages, phone calls, email on my heart bypass surgery. I'm fine now, going through recovery process, but everything's going well. I'm just a little bit sore from the incision. So let's give this one a shot and see how far I get, but I should have no problem. First of all, we want to go start with our continuing series on the history of the spaghetti western. If you recall, 2 weeks ago we covered The Girl of the Golden West, which was 1942. Leave It to the Italians. In 1943, they made a parody of that film called The Boy of the West. So that's where all the Rick and John, Franco and Ciccio parodies started. It was called Il Fanciullo del West, Boy of the Golden West or Boy of the West. It was produced by Scalera Films out of Rome. The director was Giorgio Ferroni. Should recognize that name. He was the director of the early Giuliana Gemma westerns, such as Blood for a Silver Dollar, Fort Yuma Gold, and Wanted. Screenplay by was Giorgio Ferroni and Vittorio Metz. Metz also wrote several of the spaghetti westerns back in the 60s. Cinematography was by Sergio Pesci. I can't find out for sure, but he must be the brother of our famous Pesci, the actor. Anyways, this stars Emilio Macario as Matt Carey, Eli Parvo as Lolita de Fuego, and Adriana Severi as Margarita Donovan. One of the other actors in this is Nino Pavis, who plays Pedro Montez or Drake. He pops up in spaghetti westerns in the 60s and 70s, so a more familiar name there. The story is about a frontier doctor, Matt Carey, played by Macario, who attempts to end the rivalry between the Carey, played by Augusto Olivieri, and the Donovan families in hopes of marrying Margarita Donovan, played by Sivieri. While trying to gain her affection, Mac seeks temporary solace in the arms of singer Lolita de Fuego, played by Eli Parvo, but Margarita remains the object of his desire. To win her hand, he must defeat a gang of bandits that threaten the town. This is basically Romeo and Julio set in the West. We covered Giorgio Ferroni. This is the first Western parody which is making fun of the Girl of the Golden West. Also, it's a nasty band of outlaws threatens the town. And during the course of the movie, Mac is successful in putting an end to them through means that sometimes strain credulity. Naturally, all ends well. Mac gets the girl, they marry in the process through an honor guard of gun shooters. Both houses are reconciled. A secondary role as Lolita, the Spanish saloon dancer, is played by the passion-inspiring Eli Parvo. The Indians in the film are stereotyped with ugh being the standard utterance of the tribesmen. The title of this mayhem is a variation on Puccini's 1910 opera, La Fanciulla del West, or Girl of the Golden West, itself from a play by David Blasco. Now we'll talk about the individual actors who appear in the film. The first one is Armando Macario. He was an Italian comic, born in 1902. He died in 1980. He's better known as Macario. He's sort of a cross between short, silent film actors Harry Langdon and Buster Keaton. He plays Mac Curry, whose family has a long-standing feud with the Donovan in a Romeo and Juliet manner that is alluded to over and over in The Boy of the West, including the enactment of passages from the Shakespeare play by the lovers. Macario himself appeared in 42 films from 1933 to 1975. By the mid 60s, he was primarily seen in the theater and TV. Next, we want to cover Eli Parvo. She was born Elvira Gobo on October 17, 1950. Guy Bellinger on the IMDb describes her as gorgeous, dark haired, luscious lipped, shapely legged, not afraid of showing as much of her body as could be. Sounds like our kind of actress to me. I think she resembles Jane Russell. As she grew older, her roles decreased in parody or smaller supporting roles. She appeared in 51 films between 1914 and 1960. The other actress is Adriana Severi, who Ermino Macario wanted to marry. She was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina on June 21st, 1918. She worked mostly in Italian films and retired in the mid 1950s. She also worked in radio and as a voice actress, dubbing foreign films for release in Italy. I can find no mention of her death, so she'd be 104 this year if she's actually alive. So that concludes our history of the spaghetti western episode. Now we're going to go on to whatever became of. This week, by request from the Spaghetti Western Facebook page. And his mother was Minerva Lespier, a Puerto Rican. Calvo appeared in 90 films between 1939 and 1984. At the age of 6, he made his debut in a theatrical performance at the Tivoli in Barcelona. Since he was a child, he said his games were to watch his father's films. The roles that he was representing in his childhood years, when he barely knew how to read, he learned from his mother, who made him review them the night before the premiere. By the time he started high school at the age of 10, he appeared in a musical comedy, La Posada del Cabalito Blanco, with his father, the actor Folgar, and the Allegia sisters. At the age of 12, he joined the company of Salvador Soler Mari and Milagros Leal. He made his debut as a heartthrob with the stage comedy Dan. He was 15 years old when he shot his first film, Patricio Mira Una Estrella, by Sáenz de Heredia. He worked in his father's theater company in Madrid's Infante Isabel, and, and from 1940 he was a part of the Spanish theater company in Madrid. Both in the theater and in the cinema, he maintained his image as a seductive heartthrob, along with the important actresses of the day. It was in 1943 when he achieved extraordinary notoriety throughout Spain when the film El Scandal by Jose Luis Sáenz de Heredia was released, in which he was the protagonist, and meant the consecration of him in Spanish cinema, representing the character of Fabian, according to the novel by Pedro Antonio del Alarcón. He was lured to Mexico in 1947 and remained until 1952. He was the first Spaniard to triumph as a star in Mexican cinema in its golden age, opening the doors to others. He then commuted between Spain and Mexico, making films and television series. Calvo died in Mexico City of heart failure on June 6, 1996. He was 76 years old. His spaghetti westerns or European westerns include The Sign of Zorro in 1962. He plays the role of General Rodrigo Gutierrez. A Coffin for the Sheriff, 1965. He plays Lupe Rojo or Red Wolf. Ringo's Big Night, 65. He plays Jose. 1966. He's in Ringo, The Face of Revenge as Fidel. 67. Two Crosses at Danger Pass as Old Moran. 68. Go for Broke as Jose Gomez. 1968. Killer Adios as Bill Bragg. And his last film was 1968, Ringo the Lone Rider as Bill Anderson. So that's our segment on whatever happened to Armando Calvo. I'll show some posters of those films towards the end of the show. The next segment is whatever became of. I'm sorry. Who are those guys? And this week I thought we would cover a French silent film actor who was a catalyst for the spaghetti westerns and European westerns to come. His name is Joe Heyman, actually born Joe Paul Arthur Heyman. And he starred in a series of westerns for Eclipse Films. He also made a series of Arizona Bill films, which he directed or which are directed by Gaston Rauds. He became the William S. Hart of European westerns. Overall, Joe appeared in some 40 western films between 1906 and 1911. Joe Heyman was born in Paris, France on October 26, 1883, into a bourgeois family. His father was a painter, and his grandfather was a Belgian painter, Edouard Heyman, an expert in historical paintings. In his childhood, he was able to meet several writers, Alexandre Dumas, Guy de Maupassant, and Georges Feydeau, who were friends of his parents. Heyman studied in Paris and London, and later at the School of Fine Arts in Paris. Joe Heyman discovered his vocation as a filmmaker at the age of 12 when he attended one of the Lumiere brothers' screenings at the Salon Indien des Grands Cafés in Paris in 1895. At age 21, while traveling with his father on business to the United States, he discovered Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows, with whom he befriended. Back in France, Heyman shot westerns as an actor and a director in the Paris region. Cowboy in 1906, according to him, the first western, and Les Desperados were shot for Lux Film. Following his encounter with Folco de Baroncelli, Javon, he shot his films in La Camargo. This was a huge ranch, cattle ranch, so they used it as for driving herds of cattle to market. And in collaboration with veteran director Jean Durand, Heyman was one of the pioneers of the genre outside the United States, and the French Western was given the nickname Western Camembert. In 1921, he created a production company, Les Films Joe Heyman, and continued to produce films until 1937. After the Second World War, his film career in the Western ended, when films made in the United States replaced the French ones. At that time and until 1967, he played small roles, mainly in film serials. He then became an illustrator and wrote his autobiography in 1962, still trying to find a copy of that. Joe Heyman passed away in 1974 in Dieppe, Saint-Martin, France. So that concludes our Who Are Those Guys? Now we're going to jump into the film of the week. This was a Polish Western made in 1964, Czechoslovakian production called Limonade Joe Anna Kanska Opera or Kanska Opera. English titles are Horse Opera and Lemonade Joe. It's directed by Oldrich Lipsky, story by Jiří Brdeka, cinematography by Vladimir Novotny, music by Vladimir Hala and Jan Reichlich. Jan Reichlich was quite well known. Starring roles were by Carol Fiala as Lemonade Joe, Milos Kopecki as Hor Badman or Hogo Fogo, Gaveta Fialova played Tornado Lou, Olga Shobarova, who was married to Brad Harris, and starred in several German westerns in the 1960s, played Winifred Goodman. Bohas Zahorsky played Ezra Goodman. Carol Effa played the Pancho Kid. Waldemar Matuska was Banjo or the Coyote Kid. And Antonin Sura played Old Pistol. It's based on a 1963 Czech stage production. The story is in Stetson City, a saloon battle erupts between the alcohol Trigger Whiskey Saloon and the lemonade serving Goodman Saloon. Straight shooting, Lemonade Joe, played by Carol Fiala, cleans up Stetson City in this musical parody of early westerns after shooting the pants off villain Old Pistol, played by Sura. Joe's endorsement of Cola Loca, or Crazy Cola Lemonade, as the refresher that assures deadly aim, convinces the Arizona Sin Town to abstain from alcohol. But Trigger whiskey maker Duke Badman's brother, the devious gunslinger Hogo Fogo, played by Milos Kopecki, comes to save his sibling saloon from Joe's allies. Father and daughter temperance revivalist, the Goodman Bohas, Olga Shoborova. Like I said, Olga would go on to appear in 3 Euro westerns: Massacre at Marble City in '64, Black Eagle of Santa Fe in '65, Graf Bobby, Der Schrecken des Wilder Westerns in '65. And like I said, she was married to Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt. What am I saying that for? Brad Harris. Excuse me, must be heart problems. Okay, after that, we're going to go into the CD of the week. Sorry, I've lost it. And I feel it. Hang on. I'm getting there. It's wrapped up in one of the posters. Got it. There we go. This is Uomo a Vista Mezzo Amazato Parola de Santo, Spirito Santo, or they call him the Holy Ghost. It's a Johnny Garco, complete opposite of his normal dressed in black. He's dressed in white. It's almost a parody of his Sartana roles. The composer of this was Bruno Nicolai. Director of the film was Anthony Ascott, real name Juliana Carmeneo. It starred Johnny Garco, Pilar Vasquez, Paul Stevens, real name Paola Gazlino, and Chris Huerta. This is on the Beat label. CDCR 127, has 23 tracks in stereo, a 16-page booklet, and was released in 2014. Anything by Bruno Nicolai is excellent. He worked with Morricone, Fistful of Dollars in the early films, so if you see a Bruno Nicolai, you know you're getting into great musical CDs. Okay, now we want to go into our regular features of the week. And the first one is, see what the producer pops up. Book of the week. The book of the week is called House of Angels, or Love Notes from the Asylum. It's by Timothy Wilson from Viking Press in 1973. That's 351 pages. And you're going, why does that make any sense? Can you see who's pictured in there? Well, it's about our friend, oh my God, I've lost it. William Berger. And it covers in detail his life, and more interesting is the death of his wife and his arrest for drug possession. If you can skip all the other chapters, at least read those two. It's a very interesting book, and you'd probably have to find it like on Abe Books or a used bookstore or something like that. It wouldn't be on Amazon. Okay, our next feature is okay, this week got a picture of Gordon Scott from the Tramplers. Got that one of the Hollywood Collectors shows, and he was there with Steve Reeves. Most of the time, Gordon spent in the bar, so you'd have to catch him at his table when you could. But that ends those features, and now we'll go into the weekly news. Okay, the weekly news. First up, we have a new Blu-ray out of the United States. It's not a great one, but it's God's Gun. So if you haven't got a copy of it, want to pick it up, it's now available. Directed by Gianfranco Parolini and starring Lee Van Cleef, Jack Palance, Sybil Danning, Leif Garrett, Richard Boone. It's on the Kino Lorber Studio Classics label. It's in English with English subtitles and a running time of 94 minutes. Extras include a new audio commentary by Alex Cox, a reversible art cover, and a trailer. This was released on February 8th. Next is a new book, a German book called Stuart Granger, Männlichkeit auf der Leinwand. Stuart Granger, Masculinity on the Screen, by author Rainer Bohler. Publisher is Books on Demand. It's in German, has 432 pages, and was released February 1st. Now we've got some obits this week. This one goes back a ways, but since we weren't on the air, I thought we should cover it. I've never heard of this guy until I looked him up, and then I slapped myself. His name is Austrian film producer and actor Karl Spiehs. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Spiehs. Died in Vienna, Austria on January 27th. He was 90. Spiehs was born on February 20th, 1931 in Blindendorf, Dunkelstein, Neunkirchen district of Austria. He produced more than 160 films and television series from 1961 to 2017. He's best known for Love, Lies, Passions in 2002, Bloody Friday in 72, and Killer's Carnival in 1966. He was married to Elfriede and to actress Angelica Ott. Angelica Ott was an actress in spaghetti westerns. Spiehs produced 5 Euro westerns: The Last Ride to Santa Cruz, Legend of a Gunfighter, Blood at Sundown, Cry of the Black Wolves, and Hellhounds of Alaska. I've seen all of those. They're all well known. Why I never heard of him before, or I just didn't pay attention, I don't know. Moving on, this is a sad one. Margarita Lozano, Spanish theater, film, TV actress. Margarita Lozano died in Lorca, Spain on February 7th, 2022. She was 90. Born in Tetuan, Morocco on February 14th, 1931. Her father was a soldier, and Lozano studied design and fashion in college. She abandoned her studies to pursue an acting career in Madrid, initially in the theater. She starred in acclaimed Spanish director Luis Buñuel's 1961 drama, Viridiana, about a young nun about to take her final vows. The movie won the top Palme d'Or prize at the Cannes Film Festival that year. In the 1960s, she went to Italy, appearing in Pasolini's 1969 drama, Pigsty, as well as Sergio Leone's 1964 Western, A Fistful of Dollars. It's Consuelo Baxter, alongside Clint Eastwood. She retired for a decade to raise her family. Can find nothing about who she married or how many children she had, but returned to Italian cinema in the 1980s, appearing in several films by Paolo Taviani and his brother Vittorio Taviani. I was surprised to learn she's a year younger than Clint, although in Fistful of Dollars she plays an older woman married to John Baxter, the sheriff. Next is Bud Spencer and family announced today, or this was several days ago now, that Ronald Russell died February 6, 2022. Russell doubled Bud in the series Extra Large and We Are Angels, as well as in Troublemakers. The TV series fans may also know him from the Don Johnson series Nash Bridges. Here he had a recurring role as a policeman, Ronnie. Ron was born Ronald Russell in Miami, Florida. I don't have a particular date. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the passing of Italian actress Monica Vitti on February 2nd at the age of 91. She appeared in over 60 films, several of which were directed by Michelangelo Antonioni. She was a Italian sex symbol of the 60s. And that concludes the weekly news. Now I'm going to show some posters. Okay, these are all from Armando Calvo's films. The first one is a German. And this is from A Coffin Full of Dollars. This is the Belgium poster. Now, I found this one, Ringo's Big Night. This is not a poster. This is an Italian press book. Open it up. And it actually opens up with pictures that they would run in the newspapers as for advertising the release of the movie at the theaters. Thought that was unique. I'd never seen one of those before. Okay, and then we have Django Does Not Forgive. Ringo, the Face of Revenge. And the last one I have is Go for Broke. I guess I screwed up on this one, excuse me. This one over here is Ringo the Lone Rider with Peter Martell. Yep. This is Ringo the Face of Revenge. I'm sorry. You gotta forgive me. Okay, that wraps up that. Now I want to touch on something real quick. Jay had an episode while I was in a hospital on figurines and action figures, so I can't let him top me. So I've decided to show you a poor man's collection. First one I've got a series of Fistful of Dollars dolls, and you may laugh, but look up these things on eBay, and each individual character they want you to pay like $50 a piece. I think I bought this for under $20. And I've got a couple of Terrence Hill figures that came out last year. These are action figures. Comes with a plate of beans, different hands, stuff like that. Along with Terrence, I've got, of course, Bambino. Bud Spencer comes again with accessories. I'm keeping them in the box the way they came. And then I've got probably the smallest figures in existence. I got these from my friend, the late Don Bruce, who gave us several of us at Christmas time. But there they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they're probably an inch and a half tall. And to wrap this up, another insult to Jay, I've got Zorro. So those are my figurines for the and action figures to top Jay's, try and top Jay. Anyways, that wraps it up for this week. I'll try and get better for next week. And I appreciate, again, all your thoughts and prayers. And as I always say when we conclude, adios, amigos.